Welcome to the 84th episode of the Cleveland Sports Realm. I am Jerome. That's Kevin. Derek's over there. Kevin's whole bit. You guys, yeah, we can see him. You guys can't. Blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, it is the 84th edition. Kevin likes to do these things in honor of former Browns players, it seems. So, Robert Royal, former tight end for the Browns from 2009 through 2010, I believe.
Yeah, he was a decent tight end right before we got Ben Watson.
Yeah. So we'll do this as the Robert Royal edition of Cleveland Sports Realm. Kevin, it's good to see you because I know that, as you like to tell the audience, we do live. I haven't seen you since Thursday, though.
Yeah, roommates live together, but just based off of scheduling, we haven't seen each other very frequently. We just saw each other for the first time since Thursday about an hour ago. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're doing well, buddy, and I'm glad to hop into this show.
I'm doing okay. Can't complain. Anyway, I think tonight's episode, we kind of have to start with the Guardians. And yes, they won both games against the Tigers, but it came at a serious cost. And there's some serious questions now moving forward because you don't have Jose. In case folks haven't heard, Jose Ramirez broke a bone in his hand, his hamate bone. He did this back in 2020 or 2019. And he came back super quick from it. Supposed to be 5 to 7 weeks. Last time he came back in 4. Angel Martinez broke his foot after fouling a ball off his foot. His timetable's TBD. And Chase DeLauder is not on the injured list yet, but he also has a rib contusion or I don't know if they can officially call it a contusion. I think rib general soreness. But I think that's also worrisome because they had 2 back-to-back days off with the rain out, and he's still not in the lineup tonight. So if you weren't planning on acquiring a bat, now would be the time to do so immediately, if not sooner.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny, Jerome, really, because last week we were talking specifically about potential trade deadline targets for the Guardians, and we focused primarily on pitching, and we thought it was very bizarre that this is really the first time in quite a while that it would be like, okay, maybe we actually look towards adding a pitcher as opposed to adding a bat, and maybe we jinxed it because, I mean, within just a short few days, as you just said, those 3 injuries happen. And Jose Ramirez, part of me is looking forward to seeing how the young guys, how they play with his absence and if they step up to the plate. And then part of me is also like, Jose Ramirez is that veteran presence that's really the only veteran presence in the lineup day in and day out. So how are they going to overcome this injury? It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, 3 major injuries. I mean, the home run leader on the team and Angel Martinez, your 3-hitter in Chase DeLauder, who's had a solid rookie year. Obviously hasn't been what his first week or 2 was in the big leagues, but he still had a solid rookie year so far. And then obviously the best player arguably in franchise history is out as well. So, 3 very significant injuries. And it's a shame that they all just come in bunches right now.
Yeah, and I guess, first sample size was so microscopic, but Daniel Schneemann pinch hit in that game because of the 3 injuries on Saturday, and he goes ahead and hits a go-ahead 2-run homer, but, that's too small. I'm not counting on Daniel Schneemann to be great every day. And
Right.
I think your guys that you're really looking forward to is Quan. I mean, he's been on the hot seat. I mean, the seat's burning. The construction, the legs of the chair are on completely.
He's played well the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Right, disintegrated. I agree with you now, but he has to be like old Quan if they want to move forward.
I mean, yeah, this is the time that he would have to step up. If there was ever a time for him to do it, it has to be now.
I'm looking at Rhys Hoskins, who I know his average hasn't been good all year, but he's been getting on base. OPS still around 720. He needs to absolutely be a menace. Good start for him because he'll be hitting 3rd tonight as we record this on Tuesday against his old ball club, the Brewers. Maybe a little bit of revenge there for Rhys because I don't think he was happy about how the Brewers let him go at the end of last year. And then another guy I guess you got to look for is Kyle Manzardo, because he was a 27 home run hitter last year, or 27 home runs he did hit last year. So those are the three guys I'm looking at to step up. But you look at that lineup tonight, and it's like, yeah, they're going to have to acquire a bat or two. Like, and I don't mean to constantly go back to this, but at the same time, like, this is the price you pay when every offseason you refuse to add zero depth.
Yeah, I actually think one of the guys, and Jerome, you did not name him, but a guy that I'm looking to step up significantly would be David Fry in this lineup. A guy that can play third base with Jose's absence, can play corner outfield with DeLauder's absence and Angel Martinez's absence. If you're going to play Quan in center, can play both corner outfield positions and third base. I'm looking for David Fry to step up pretty significantly.
I would agree so. And then another guy that we both vocally have had much disdain for on this podcast, Kevin and I buried his coffin and then shoveled 6 feet of dirt on top of it.
Oh.
But here he goes, crawling again out of it. Gabby Arias gets opportunity number 795 to show he can be an everyday player. And this has to be it, right? Like, you would think, but then he'll probably get 796. I mean, yeah, he's frustrating. But I know it was also 2 months ago. He did hit well to start the year, but he also still swung at a lot of pitches outside the zone. He did have a good homestand right when he did pull his hamstring, but here he comes again with another chance, and I guarantee you, if I know this organization, which I like to believe I do pretty well, he's going to get the crack at being the everyday third baseman.
Well, and the thing that's so frustrating with Gabe Arias, and I'm sure that we'll see it, a few times here in the next month or so, is that he'll be on a ridiculous slump of swinging at everything outside of the zone, and then some pitcher will serve him up a meatball with pretty significant stakes on the line. Let's say, bottom of the 8th inning, Triber down 1 or 2 runs or whatever, and he hits a game-tying home run that's going to keep him in the big leagues for another 3 weeks. I mean, that's been the story of Gabe Arias for about 3 years now.
I think you put it very eloquently. I don't have much to add to that, because that is precisely what happens. Again, we've taken the shovels, we've buried the coffin endless times.
His hand just keeps coming up out of the dirt.
And I tell you, he just keeps rising from the ashes, as they say. So I think that with these injuries, it's not like Jose was having a phenomenal season, but he still is Jose Ramirez, and he was back into the 240s, and he still did have a lot of RBIs. And
he's a ridiculous threat on the base paths as well.
That's where I was going. He has 24 swipe bags. So how many times have they struggled to score a run, or you just watch a game and they can't seem to get a runner past first base, and then Jose just swipes second, swipes third, and then is able to steal them a run on a sacrifice fly or something small ball oriented like that. And then I think the other one we have to talk about is Angel Martinez. I understand the average has dipped the last pretty much since June began, but 11 home runs is 11 home runs. And this is a team who already doesn't hit enough home runs, in my humble opinion, for baseball in 2026. And now you're taking, it's weird enough to say, but you're taking your big pop out of the order, because Jose's gone too. So there's your top 2 home run hitters. Who's going to step up and hit some home runs?
I would say top 3.
Yeah.
Chase DeLauder.
Yeah. I'm looking at Rhys Hoskins and Kyle Manzardo have to be able to not only get hits and not only hit for a better average, both of them need to consistently put the ball over the fence, and that's just where we're at. And I think they're in a precarious situation too, Kevin, because it's easy to say right now, go make a trade, which of course I'd encourage them to do myself. But at the same time, teams are not ready to declare themselves buyers or sellers yet. And with the American League just absolutely stinking up the joint, just awfully. It's just terrible.
Yeah, the mediocre teams could be looking to buy as well, thinking that they might have a shot at making the postseason. So
exactly right. And the whole American League is mediocre. So there's going to be teams who are around 500 who are going to be hesitant to sell you a piece, because they're the same teams you're going to probably be able to compete, or most likely will be competing with, for the wild card spot. Or maybe they still are able to hold off and win the division. We'll see. But boy, we keep wanting to throw the White Sox and cast them aside. They're not going away.
No, and I do want to ask you here, based off of just our conversation last week during episode 83. Us really focusing in on we want to acquire another reliever, potentially another starter. Where does your rankings end up with now? Like, where do you look at this team and say, hey, like, do you think at this point a bat is more important than an arm now?
I think that bullpen is so untrustworthy because I was having a conversation the other day with someone. It's like, yeah, you trust Cade Smith. He's been marvelous. You trust Eric Sombrowski, who's on the DL. I think you trust Holderman. And besides that, like, that's my end of the list of trust.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So I think as desperate as they're going to be on offense, that this is, I think a reliever still more vital. But I to be quite frank with you, I think they need one of each. And if they choose to play thread the needle like they always like to, like, no, and they haven't done it in a while. We talked about this a handful of episodes. It's time to straight buy. You didn't spend a penny in the offseason. The team needs it. The team's good enough that the players in the clubhouse deserve it. It's time to buy. And I know that the Patrick Bailey trade, you can, I guess, consider a buy move, but it's not really giving you anything on offense at all. But that's not going to be enough. Like, so I'll be very livid if we get to the trade deadline
and they stand pat,
and Chris Antonetti tells you, well, we got Patrick Bailey
and we got Gabe Arias came back up.
Yeah. Oh, and they'll tell you that they do love doing that one too. And so I think, personally, one of each is needed. And honestly, in a situation where, right before, in a situation where they need outfielders, they bring back Petey Halpin, which is fine. But I think a lot of the fan base was excited to see Khalil Watson. That's not going to take place, at least in the immediate future, because Khalil Watson has been tearing the cover off the ball for the Clippers, and that's who they did get for Josh Bell. Take you a couple years back, 3 years back now.
Was that the Josh Bell deal?
That was the Josh Bell deal, was Khalil Watson. And interestingly enough, in a situation where they need outfielders, clearly they do not believe in George Valera. They had already DFA'd him once. He came back, hit a big playoff home run last year, and George was designated for assignment again, which kind of was a surprising move and caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, it took me off guard a little bit as well too. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the guards do. I'll also be livid if they end up doing nothing at the deadline, just because it's so obvious. If you're an everyday viewer of this team, it's just so obvious there's additional help that's needed in the bullpen. Even before these injuries, I think they could have afforded to potentially look at another utility bat.
Absolutely.
So I would agree with you in that instance. Like, I would go after one of each. Starting pitching for me, it's not as high on my board as getting another bench bat. Or, in this case, potentially a starting bat, with the injuries that are going on now, and then a relief pitcher. But at least Jose, we know definitively he will be back at some point this season.
Right.
So it's not like you got to go out and get a huge superstar name or a big name, I should say, to add into the lineup. And then obviously no timetable on Martinez, and we haven't heard anything with DeLauder, correct?
We haven't heard timetable at all on DeLauder. We do know they did not place him on the injured list.
Right.
But clearly it's not like, super minor league, because, or not minor league, I shouldn't say super, like minor of an injury.
Right, because he wasn't back within 3 days.
Right. This could also be precautionary, because we know Chase DeLauder walks outside to let the dog out in the morning. He's the kind of guy who twists an ankle stepping off the doorstep. Like, he just is very injury prone.
It also, I think, can give us a little bit of optimism that he's not on the IL yet, because, it's probably significant enough to hold him out for about a week, but you don't want to just throw him on the 10-day IL immediately if it's not a 10-day injury.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. Martinez, though, that one just was kind of disappointing to hear today, though, because we had heard that, there's a good chance he'll be in the lineup tomorrow night yesterday, and then you get the MRIs and the x-rays back, and you find out he broke a bone in his foot, and it's like, damn, he fouled that ball hard off his foot, enough to break a bone. And Martinez, this was not the first time this year that Angel's fouled a ball off his foot. He was wearing a protective knee guard on his back knee because, take you way back to the beginning of the season, he fouled 2 balls off his knee back-to-back days in Dodger Stadium. And then he had another couple, a little bit, where he fouled a ball off himself a little bit later down the season. So Angel's beat himself up pretty good with foul balls this season. So maybe he did break his foot, but also this might not be a bad rest for him. Someone who's been more or less an up and down player their whole career, I don't recall him playing every day, even when he's been on the roster every day. I don't know that he's played this much consistently in the bigs throughout his career.
Definitely not
thus far.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, and then like we said with Ramirez, this is an injury he came back from in 4 weeks a few years ago. He did have the top hand doctor in the country, Dr. Thomas Graham, who a lot of sports fans are probably familiar with his name. I know he does football hand injuries. He does baseball. He does basketball. So they didn't mess around. Jose went to go see the top hand surgeon in all of pretty much professional sports.
I'm interested to see how Bazana's going to start playing without having Jose right behind him in the lineup.
That will be interesting. I mean, he's in the leadoff spot. Just to give folks an idea, we are recording this at 7 o'clock here.
Tuesday evening.
Right.
June 16th.
Thank you. To be exact, 4 minutes after 7. So obviously the lineup's out as they get underway in this big series in Milwaukee tonight. And here's your lineup. I mean, this is how big these injuries are. You have Travis Bazzana. Brian Rocchio slots all the way up to the 2-hole, which good for him. I don't know who else you put there now.
Yeah, I think that's,
Rhys Hoskins, 3. David Fry, 4. Manzardo against the lefty, 5. Stuart Fairchild will be hitting 6th. Stephen Kwan, 7th. He's risen from the dead again. Gabriel Arias, 8th. And Austin Hedges, 9th. That just looks so much worse than the lineup did.
Stuart Fairchild batting 6th is disgusting.
Thank you. But I agree
No,
with you.
it is.
Because, quite frankly, if you look at all that, I mean, just 2 days ago, they beat the Tigers, and we talked about that. That was a huge series. And I know that it got range shortened, but because of Mother Nature, the Guardians, by all accounts, my account, they swept the series because they won every game that was eligible to win. So good for them. And those were 2 huge wins that were much needed after the Yankees came to Cleveland and brought their brooms last week. That was a rough one.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
And things were starting to get out of hand. You knew that moves needed to be made. I am curious to see, Petey Halpin, we know he is a hell of a fielder. We know he's a hell of a base runner. What we don't know is, the stick's been terrible, quite frankly, in the big leagues so far. I would think Petey's going to get a lot of time because, and as much of a non-threat with the bat as Petey Halpin is, I will still take him over Stuart Fairchild 7 days a week.
Oh, I would too.
In center field. Because I don't know if Stewart's providing that kind of defense out there.
No, he's not. And I don't think he's providing that much speed on the base paths either when he gets on.
Yeah.
So, I would take Halpin over Fairchild every day of the week.
So we'll see. They seem to really want to draw out the Stewie Fairchild experience here. So I'm sure that it will take Khalil Watson hitting 600 before they can finally pull the trigger on the DFA of Stuart Fairchild.
And another thing that we speculated last week and they did not do was potentially bringing up Cooper Engel.
We did speculate on that, and that's interesting. It wasn't him. It was, like we said, it was Petey Halpin, and that's who got the call, and George Valera with the DFA, which, like we said, surprised both of us. I don't know that we touched on it at all, but speaking of failed former Guardians outfielders, Nolan Jones is finally gone, and I don't care that they got a bag of baseballs or international slot money, whatever the hell. I just didn't want him anywhere near the organization.
Yeah, to the White Sox, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, in division. To the AL Central leaders.
That shows you how little they think of Nolan.
Or how high the AL Central leaders think of him.
I'm not going there. I can't buy that theory. So yeah, we'll see what happens against the Brewers. Big 9-game road trip that the Guardians find themselves in here now, and like we said, Kevin, it's a very interesting time because you have a lot of injuries, and it's just like they're kind of stuck right now because there's nothing they can do immediately. They just got to kind of ride this out until mid or middle of July, and then hopefully by then we can determine more who are the buyers and sellers.
If they go 500 until Jose gets back, I think that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this road trip is huge, though. Like we said, you go to Milwaukee, who's like the American League or National League, rather, senior circuit version of yourselves. They don't spend any money and they're competitive every year. Then you go to Houston, who's kind of having a down year, but they've been playing a little bit better of late. And then we have not seen them yet. We finally see the Chicago White Sox, who we have not witnessed yet this year.
Which is crazy.
And we're towards the back half of June. And then you come home, Seattle and Texas, and then White Sox immediately again for a 4-game series, and then Minnesota, Miami for 3, and then it's All-Star break. So this next stretch of, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, I think probably defines the season. How well can they play without their, can they basically, as you pointed out, go 500 and tread water? That way, when hopefully Paul Dolan has enough money in his spare change, account that they can get some acquisitions at the deadline.
Yeah.
So this next 4-week stretch, extremely, extremely imperative that they stay around 500. It's Kevin eloquently pointed out.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, this is going to be a shorter episode tonight, but that'll do it for the Guardians segment of it. You want to talk about the NBA Finals? Knicks gentlemen sweep the Spurs, trailed in every game, and get it done and win the championship for the first time since 1973. Couple quick thoughts.
I saw it was the most watched finals since 98.
I believe that. Just the sheer number of people that live in New York City. The 5
and just the draw of the Knicks themselves.
Exactly. The 5 people who cared about the Nets, that they might have not watched, but the other 11 million people that live in those 5 boroughs were all watching.
Yeah. Jalen Brunson has solidified himself as
a top
easily
5 Knick of all time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was going to say easily a top 8 player in the league now at this point, right?
Absolutely.
I think we had debated top 10, a couple months ago because we had put him and Donovan Mitchell relatively in the same tier. I think we each had Brunson probably a slot higher than Mitchell. But at this point, easily a top 8 player in the league in my book.
Absolutely. I'd maybe venture to go say top 5. His closeout performance, and now I watched this game Saturday. I was at my campground out in PA, which you've been to many times.
Sure.
And, I was watching the second half of that game. His closeout performance reminded me of a true all-time great type performance. That amount of points. And the other thing that's interesting to me is the Knicks trailed in every game of the series. Obviously, we all know about the 29-point comeback, biggest in NBA playoff and finals history. We know about that one. But even game 5, they were down by 10 or 12 most of the game.
They typically went down by 10 in the first quarter, every game.
And I think what it comes down to is the Knicks were the more experienced team.
I do too.
And, congratulations to Mike Brown. This is a guy who was fired twice by the Cavs, fired by the Lakers. If truth be told,
Kings.
Fired by the Kings. Thank you. If truth be told, the Knicks didn't really even want him either, but they fired Tom Thibodeau, and then their first choice, Jason Kidd, didn't want the job. That might have been the Jason Kidd saying no thanks, Knicks might have been the greatest thing to happen to the Knicks, one of the greatest things in their franchise's history, because Mike Brown pushed every right button, and I thought coached circles around Mitch Johnson when it came to the NBA Finals.
Oh, no, he absolutely did. And I don't want to try to discredit the Spurs at all either, because, Victor Wembanyama is an absolute superstar. I do like his mentality when he's on the floor, too. Going back we can even say 10 to 15 years, like the face of the NBA, like LeBron James has been buddy with just everybody on the court, and Victor Wembanyama like is not like that. Like if he's facing you, it's a high stakes game. He's trying to punish you. He's trying to get in your head. They're just a very young team, Jerome. Like you said, first time they've been there. Wemby's 22 years old. Even the supporting cast around him. I mean, Keldon Johnson's got some experience at this point. Devin Vassell's been in the league now for 5 or 6 years. De'Aaron Fox has been in the league a while, but Dylan Harper, like a rookie. Yeah. He was their second highest scorer in the NBA Finals. So Spurs have a young core built, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them again in the finals here in the next couple of years, maybe even next year.
Yeah, I would agree. I also will say, and I'm not criticizing them for this because stars tend to be, it takes them time to develop. But Wemby did not really have a good NBA Finals. The only game I thought he had a good one was the one they won. But besides that, and I tell you who I thought had a tremendous Finals was Cat. I mean, he handled Wemby, and he was a menace. Ironically, though, in Game 5 he was in so much foul trouble. They ended up having to go to past Mitchell Robinson to Aaron Hagporty, who hadn't seen the light of day off the end of the bench in months. And either way, it didn't all ended up not mattering because Cat was huge all 4 games except Game 5. I think he had 2 points, but Jalen Brunson said, "Don't worry, man, I got this," and went out there for 45. And the Knicks are your NBA champions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting, too, because you and I had talked, this was specifically after the Mikal Bridges trade, and maybe even at the OG Anunoby trade that they had, too, because it seemed like they were trading for 2 guys who did a lot of the same things, almost like they would cancel each other out on the basketball court. And especially with what they gave up for Mikal Bridges, I want to say it was like 5 first-round picks or something asinine like that. Like I said at the time, and I love Mikal Bridges, I love his game, but like he is not worth 5 first-round picks. You are spending what you spent for him if it gets you an NBA Finals, which it did. So kudos to the Knicks front office as well.
Yeah, Leon Rose, since he's gotten there, just made all the right moves. I mean, all these moves that were very, very questionable. You destroyed the core of the team that brought Knicks basketball back by trading Randall and Barrett and DiVincenzo and all of that. And every move that they made, I mean, just ended up working out. Like I said, the trading away Emmanuel Quickly, too, as part of the RJ Barrett deal for OG.
Yeah.
And people were like, that's way too much to give up for OG. And trading Julius Randle and DiVincenzo for Cat. And last year was like, does Cat have what it takes? Does he want to be? Cat showed you he had what it effing takes this year. That guy played tenacious in the playoffs. Trading for Jose Alvarado at the deadline. He had that game where he had those 10 straight points. Everything they did has gotten them here, which is ultimately their first championship in 53 years since 1973. It's way too early to tell what will happen in the NBA next year, but I would expect both those teams to be contenders again. But obviously, I think this one, the Knicks needed it now more than the Spurs do because, as you just pointed out, Dylan Harper maybe was the Spurs' best player in the finals, and he is a rookie.
He's a rookie.
2nd overall pick out of Rutgers. I mean, this kid's got years versus like Cat and Brunson. Not saying they're old, but they're not like young pups like Dylan Harper either.
No, exactly.
So,
and it's something I don't think we've actually talked about this on the podcast at all. We've definitely talked about it off the air, and it's something that's definitely been brought up amongst, NBA fan bases before. So it's not like this is a hot take at all. But dude, could you imagine being a Dallas Mavericks fan and just watching Jalen Brunson do that? You didn't even trade him, just he left via free agency. And then obviously everybody knows the whole Luka thing. The fact that they had those two together and they just didn't give it time to develop. I mean, you have to be sick to your stomach if you're a Mavericks fan.
I mean, Jalen Brunson's leap from like a good backup point guard to like now legendary superstar is crazy. I mean, you don't see that often in the league. And one other thing,
And that contract was looked at as absolutely absurd when the Knicks gave it to him. His original contract, I want to say, was 4 years, $100 million.
Yes, it was.
And it was looked like an asinine deal.
Well,
and then within a year and a half, it was the biggest bargain in basketball.
It looked like a classic. Knicks were like, well, shit.
We need somebody.
Our first 18 options showed us the door in free agency, so let's go to 19, Jalen.
Well, and that was after the Cavs had traded for Mitchell. He was like their backup plan.
Yeah.
Because they were going after Mitchell so hard.
It was. And I think the other thing with Brunson, too, you got to give him credit for. Then he signs the second deal to stay with the Knicks, and he left a assload
Tens
of money
of millions of dollars
on the table so the Knicks can go out and give him a better supporting cast, and that plan all worked to fruition. Let's relate this back to a local perspective. After watching the Cavs get swept by the Knicks and the Knicks gentlemen swept the Spurs, are the Cavs as close as we think they are? Are they probably now farther away than we thought they are?
I think they're further away than we thought they were.
I agree. Because it was a big hump to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but then you watch that team sweep you and that team pretty much have no problem in the finals, and you're like,
well, and the Spurs
shit.
Beat the defending NBA champs with two-time MVP SGA. And, Chet Holmgren's a great player in and of his own right. And so you see the Spurs match up against them, beat them for as young of a team as they are, get to the finals, and then they lose in 5. If the Cavs would have somehow gotten past the Knicks and faced the Spurs, I wouldn't have felt confident in us winning a game against the Spurs.
Yeah, I don't know if we had the bench that New York did. I don't know if we had the tenacity, I believe is the word I'm looking for.
It is.
Like that Cat and Mitchell Robinson played with down low. And I know some of our listening audience is going to love me hearing me say this. You think Evan Mobley's battling Wemby down low that physical like Mitch and Cat did?
No.
I don't think
and
so
that's a former defensive player of the year, and we have no confidence in him being able to have the tenacity to do that or the tenaciousness.
Yes. So no, I think it makes you feel not great about the Cavs.
I agree.
The Cavs have,
I think this proved that they have to get a legitimate wing because Bridges and OG did so much for the Knicks in those finals and throughout this playoff run. The Cavs need a legitimate wing.
Yeah. And I don't
know where that's coming from.
I was just going to say the same thing. I don't know. Those are hard to produce. Those,
they are. And then obviously Josh Hart's out there doing what he does.
I was just going to say the Knicks have 3 of them.
Yeah.
The Knicks have 3 of what the Cavs need.
Yeah, they literally play a point guard, center, and 3 solid wings.
A 3 for not special.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have it. We don't have it. Okay, one last thing, and I know this is an abbreviated episode, but time constraints tonight for certain things and reasons that we're not going to explain on the air, but that's okay. One last thing that I know you had mentioned pre-show in the big time pre-show meeting where me, you, and Derek put our heads together and really think, we get our thinking caps on. You had mentioned this. The Sorsby kid is going to go to the supplemental draft.
Yeah.
Todd Monken talked at the Browns golf outing and basically outright said, yeah, we don't want him. The Browns have been known to say one thing and do another.
They've also been known to take chances on kids with character concerns, regardless of the regime in place.
Yeah, I don't know that Todd Monken's all about that as much as Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were. I actually am going to go ahead and say the Browns do not take this kid in the supplemental draft. I think that the amount
Would you take him?
No.
Why?
Because I think the sheer amount of games that he was gambling on, like if he's doing that in college, what's to say he's not going to do it in the NFL? This whole injunction thing, like this has kind of become a national story that I've just kind of like been like not that interested in, to be honest with you. So I haven't really, I followed it enough to discuss it somewhat educatedly, but I'm not that interested in it. I don't really give a shit, and I don't think the kid's all that good.
Yeah, for the record, I don't want the Browns to draft him either. But from what all the quote unquote experts were saying, he would have been a top 5 pick in this 2027 class if he didn't have these if he didn't have this gambling problem. I'm gonna call BS on that. I knew who Brennan Sorsby was just because he went to college at Cincinnati for a couple years.
Yeah, he went to Cincinnati. Then he go somewhere else.
He was at Indiana prior, and he was betting on Indiana's games while he was at Indiana.
Right.
Like, this has been a problem for him for years. 9,000 bets they said that he had placed, which is just an astronomical number when you think of it.
And who's to say he's not going to do it in the NFL? That's
my
biggest concern.
Oh, I agree with you. And I just I never saw it with Sorsby, and I never heard anything about him. Like, when I would turn on a random Cincinnati game or something, you never heard, oh, this kid's viewed as a top 10 prospect in this 20. I never heard of it until this whole gambling thing comes out, and there's potential for him to be in the supplemental draft. Then it's like, oh, this kid. I was listening to 92.3 this morning. Again, we're recording Tuesday, and they had Ryan Wilson on.
Yeah, CBS Sports.
And Ryan Wilson said that if you were to have, let's say a black and white screen with no last name on the back of the jersey, 10 out of 10 times you're taking Sorsby over Arch Manning. And I laughed out loud because, again, I've never heard this Brennan Sorsby is going to be a first-round pick, no-brainer first round. I've heard about this Arch Manning being a number 1 overall pick for probably 5 years now.
I would say legitimately when he committed to Texas his freshman year of high school, and we've been hearing about him since. So that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, over 5 years, at least 5 years ago. And so, the fact that he's being brought up in the same sentence as Arch Manning, and the fact that we've got some CBS experts saying that, if you actually watch the tape, you're taking Sorsby 10 out of 10 times. I think it's laughable considering we haven't even heard about this kid up until these gambling problems. Like, you were hearing about Julian Sand, you were hearing about Dante Moore, you were hearing about Arch Manning. You were hearing you were never hearing about Brennan Sorsby.
The most I heard about Brennan Sorsby was he initially declared himself a gambling addict, and then that the NCAA gave him an injunction. Why was that allowed either? I don't know. There's just a lot of weird details in this story.
Yeah.
The story's peculiar in of itself.
I want the Browns to stay far, far away from it.
And when Todd Monken said there's a lot of problems there, I agree.
You think a team does take him in the supplemental? I saw the odds are pretty high for him to either be from round 5 on, and that's including undrafted.
Yeah, I think somebody will end up signing him.
You think anybody actually I shouldn't say waste, but spends a pick on him in the supplemental?
So. Yeah.
Any team that comes to mind?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the Browns, and I'm happy about that.
I could see the Cardinals doing it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I mean, they're Jacoby Brissett is still, isn't he, sitting out, waiting for a contract?
Yeah, I think they're battling right now. I think Jacoby's in a holdout.
Dude, Jacoby Brissett holding out is one of the funniest storylines I can remember.
I love Jacoby Brissett. Go get your dollars, my guy.
Yeah, but Jacoby Brissett, who's been, when he's a starter, a bottom 5 starter in the league, and when he's a backup, I mean, he's a higher end backup. But for that status of a player to be holding out, I think is hilarious.
I think it's hilarious because the Cardinals are screwed without him.
Unless they take Sorsby.
Well, no, they drafted somebody too. But it doesn't matter.
Oh, I think they did draft somebody in round 3.
Jacoby Brissett's probably still better than whoever they drafted.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, I mean, another reason I don't, obviously being a Shador guy, I don't need somebody else inside of my guy's way.
Well, I think it just doesn't make sense regardless for the Browns to spend a pick on him. Just because, I mean, you're having the battle right now with Watson and Sanders. There's 2 spots. You drafted Taylor Green. There's 3.
Dylan Gabriel's just hanging around.
Well, that's what he's there.
He's just kind of that. Oh, seriously.
But okay, so you're gonna draft Sorsby and then have 4 quarterbacks, and you got to worry about moving, excluding Dylan Gabriel. Then you have 4 quarterbacks. What are you doing with them?
If the Browns were interested in Brennan Sorsby, they wouldn't have drafted the Arkansas kid.
Yeah, but they didn't know that he was going to be in the supplemental draft.
That's true.
What if the Browns had a first-round grade on Brennan Sorsby and thought, hey, maybe next year, and now this is happening?
Remember when I got all mad at the Browns a couple weeks ago? It'd be another one of those kind of episodes. Like I would.
If they drafted Sorsby, what if they spent like a 5th-round pick on him?
There's too many cooks in the kitchen at quarterback there already. There is no reason to.
I agree with you, but
like if anything, Shador should be the starter. Deshaun shouldn't be, but will be the backup. And Taylon Green will be the 6th rounder, and Dylan Gabriel can, I don't know, go be a butler or something. I don't know. Probably, honestly, I keep saying, I've said it for years. Like,
you think he's going to be a good offensive mind?
I think he is going to be a tremendous coordinator. Dylan Gabriel can go be a coordinator at Tri-C or something. I don't know. Got to start somewhere. That's probably the best out. Like,
I don't think him coordinating
the Triceratops is going to do anything.
The Tri-C Triceratops hypothetical football team, because it doesn't exist, would be a good move for him career-wise. But hey,
give up the playing.
He's got to do something.
That's not it for him. We know that.
He'll be on a practice squad this season for some team.
Probably. Again, we have to let you go a little bit early today. Thank you guys for listening each and every week. And our every weekers, a special shout out to you. Obviously, we're glad that you guys think highly of us, enough of us to tune in every single Thursday morning.
Yep.
Or Saturday or Sunday or whatever you watch or listen to the podcast. And how we've been doing it the last couple weeks. Kevin is going to tell you where to watch and listen.
Yeah, you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Also listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as make sure to follow your boys on Twitter or X, Instagram, and TikTok at CLE Sports Realm.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. It was great to reconvene and chat some sports with you. Derek, thank you. Did a great job as he gives me the thumbs up, and now he tells me to get out of his house. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't tell me that part. Anyhow, thanks again for watching and listening. Like we said, interesting week coming up. Yeah. This Brennan Sorsby story won't go away. And then the Guardians. Big time, stretch for them. The next 4 weeks will be zeroed in on here at the Cleveland Sports
absolutely.
Room. All right, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Try to stay dry with all the rain in the forecast. And Kevin and I will talk to you next Thursday, but where else? On the Cleveland Sports Room.
Go Tribe.